Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Villa Park City Council. I hereby call the meeting to order. Steve, will you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Miles,
Present.
Councilwoman Jones,
Here.
Councilman Wu. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Rossini.
Here.
Mayor Pitts.
Here. Steve, before we get started, I think we have a new member of your team joining us tonight. If you wouldn't mind, can we embarrass her and you introduce her to the rest of the folks here at Villa
Sure,
Park?
I apologize, I never do pronounce her last name right, but it's Charisse, is that the easiest way to do it?
Yep.
She is in the main office, and you'll see her, she's replaced Kim. So she's the friendly voice you hear when you call, and you have any questions or whatever. She's been with us now about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And we're very fortunate to have her part of the team. Anyway, stop by and welcome her, but she'll be the voice on the phone you hear a lot.
Glad to have you. Welcome.
Welcome.
Today I'd like to ask former mayor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise if you can do so. Place your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The Villa Park City Council and staff welcome you to this meeting, and we encourage your participation. If you wish to address the City Council, please complete and submit a speaker card to the city clerk before the scheduled meeting time. Speaker cards can be found outside the entrance to the City Council chambers. Speakers will be called on individually during the public comment section of each item they wish to speak on. Speakers will be limited to a time period of 5 minutes. Speakers will also be able to submit comments in writing should have been done by 3 p.m. today. Those comments will be read aloud during the public comment section of each of the items that they sent in. So now is my favorite time of our meeting, because we get to recognize one of our distinguished citizens here in Villa Park. And over the course of the past 35 years, if you were one of the lucky individuals to attend Villa Park Elementary, you came to know the next recipient of the Distinguished Citizen Award. So I would like to invite Kathy Curtis to the podium so we can honor her service to Orange Unified School District, Villa Park Elementary, and likely 2 to 3 generations of Villa Park youth who have attended classes there. So Kathy, would you come up and join us, please? Welcome.
Can I go on this side?
No, you stay just right there is fine. We'll bring you around the other side in a few minutes. But Kathy and her husband, Eddie's out there in the audience. Glad to have you, Eddie. Moved to Villa Park 46 years ago from Cerritos. Eddie has a sister who lives in Orange Park Acres and suggested they move here in our area. They first moved to a home in Orange just off of Cannon, and from there they moved to their current house in Villa Park. Kathy was a legal assistant in Long Beach and soon realized that her commute was very long and she needed to be closer to Villa Park because her kids are now attending the Villa Park schools. She and Eddie have 2 children, Marnie and Aaron. Marnie's here too, I think. I see her. She also has 3 grandchildren, all went to Villa Park schools. Marnie was on the drill team, softball team, and was a cheerleader. And I believe Marnie and Nicole were both on the same team at one time. So Aaron played basketball and baseball, so you can imagine how busy Kathy was with her kids' sports involvement. So she started to look for other opportunities to work closer to home. Her friend Marianne suggested she apply for the librarian position at Villa Park Elementary, so she went over to talk to the OUSD personnel office, which at the time was on Gosell, now it's part of Chapman College, to apply for that position. However, after conversations with the personnel, she took on an instructional aide position in special education. She liked that role, but wasn't sure that that's really what she wanted to do long term. Nancy Moore was brought in as principal of the Villa Park Elementary, and she talked to Kathy into taking the office position, and Kathy never looked back. She retired after 34 years of service to our community, our children, and to Orange Unified School District as Villa Park Elementary office manager. You can imagine after being at one school all those years, how many great stories, funny, interesting, good, and not so good, that Kathy's heard, especially having worked for 11 different principals during her tenure. I asked her about highlights, and she said, having relationships with the parents and being supportive of the parents to partner with them to aid in the education of the kids was her highest priority, and the most fulfilling, as most of her job evolved around being a parental liaison. She loved kindergarten registration and the beginning of a new school year because she loved to see all the little kids get excited about their new teachers and who would be in their class. I asked her what she wanted to be remembered for. She said she wanted everyone to say that she was kind and was a positive influence for parents and students, and for the students to remember her favorably. But I also understand you don't mess with Miss Curtis. Kathy has been a great friend to many of us in Villa Park, and tonight we honor her and her service to our community and to our children. Kathy, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kathy? No, you don't get off that easy. Would you like to say something?
No, but, the only thing I'd like to say is I appreciate so much all of my family and friends that have come. And I loved my job when I had it, but now I'm retired, so
Well,
that's it.
We all, as parents, appreciate you and what you gave to all of our children during your tenure. 34 years is a long time in one position.
It is.
It's not attainable today by most folks. They don't stay in positions that long, so congratulations. Thank you for all you did for this community, for our children, and for the school.
Thank you so much,
Now,
Mayor Robbie.
we have some.
See, you can't get by with anything here. Kathy, on behalf of Orange County Chairman Don Wagner of the Board of Supervisors, it's hard to remember that because he just became chairman in January. And I have to say chairman, not supervisor, so excuse me if I stutter. Anyhow, thank you on behalf of, I start to say supervisor, Chairman Wagner, for all you've done in this community, this wonderful community called Villa Park, which is truly a hidden jewel. And it looks like you might have been a hidden jewel that we didn't know about. So thank you so much for what you've done. We appreciate it. And there's a certificate of recognition from Chairman Wagner. They didn't tell you to dress for this, did they? Okay. See, Kathy, you just can't get away.
We got our 93-year-old mother here.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Get over here and take a picture.
It's turning the air down.
stay in the audience. Go stand there.
Can I be part of the family?
Wow.
Okay, I got it.
You didn't know that was gonna be that many.
I was gonna say, I don't believe she's 93. Nope. She looks like she's about 70. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, but I just had to stutter my way through. I can't get used to chairman. It just doesn't come out as easy as supervisor.
on just fine.
Okay, let's get the show on the road here. Next, I am very pleased to introduce the General Manager of the Orange County Sanitation District, Rob Thompson, who's come to join us tonight to give us a short presentation on I have to say, since I joined the board, I have, they've doing some amazing things there, and I think it's sorry, Rob. Let's get
Thank you,
all
Mr.
them out.
I gotta say, it is tough to follow a teacher. People don't show up like that for the sewer guy.
Well, sir, appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you for spending time with us, and I believe you have a little short presentation that you want to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Again, I'm Rob Thompson, General Manager of the Orange County Sanitation District. It is my honor to be here to talk to you about all the very cool things happening with your sewage down at our plant. Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. I do want to recognize our two board members, so they're not councilmen to me, they're my board members, so Director Pitts and Alternate Director Wu, thank you for your service to Orange County Sanitation. I'll talk about the 25 directors that we have and how they help us. Next slide, please. So Orange County Sanitation District is a special district. It is bounded all the way from Seal Beach, which you can see on the map, to La Habra, across the county line to Yorba Linda, down along the National Forest to the backside of Irvine and backside of Newport Beach. We service 2.5 million people. We take in about 180 million gallons of water every day when it's dry, especially during the drought. When it rains, like this last winter, we can peak out well over 400 million gallons at any particular time, and average on a daily basis about 210 million gallons. So a lot of flow coming our way. You can see the infrastructure across the county. Those green lines on the map are our sewer lines. That's how the water is conveyed across the county down to our two treatment plants at Fountain Valley and Huntington Beach. You can see that on the map there, P1, P2, right on the river. We've been down there since the turn of the century, really. We incorporated in 1954. Next slide, please. So our governance, we are governed by 25 board members. We work hard to make sure we have a constant vision because a lot of the things we do take decades to deliver. I'll talk about some of that. But the cities and their roles are shown there. But it's not just cities. There are 20 cities that are directly represented. They send representatives just like you have to our board. We have two sanitary districts, Costa Mesa Sanitary and Midway Sanitary District, which service, obviously, Costa Mesa, as you can guess. Midway serves Westminster. We We have 2 water districts, Irvine Ranch and Yorba Linda Water District on the board, and 1 county supervisor. Next slide, please. So how the water gets to us, you can see in the upper corner there we get source water from businesses, residents, and industry. So for Villa Park, it's mostly residential, as you can imagine. Every home has about a 4-inch, 3-4-inch pipe going out to the middle of the street. The city then owns the conveyance pipes in the streets, which takes it to the edge of the city in your case and delivers it to our pipelines. We then take it via those green lines all the way down to Fountain Valley and Huntington Beach. Our pipes are somewhat bigger. Next slide, please. Instead of those 3 or 4-inch pipes that leave your house, as they get near our plant, they turn into whoppers, anywhere from 4 to 10 feet in diameter. One of the things I'll draw your attention to is the person's there, the thickness of the pipe wall. And if you look very closely, you can see that white lining. All of our pipes have a vinyl liner to prevent corrosion, something we started to do back in the 60s. It served us well because our pipes are running strong, where some of the neighboring cities like LA, San Diego, didn't do that, and they have some pretty severe corrosion problems in their concrete pipes. So those sorts of technological foresights that we continue to this day really serve us well and reduce our costs and improve our service. Next slide, please. So speaking of that, we take all this water, the 180 million gallons, up to 210 million gallons in a wet month. We do preliminary treatment, primary treatment, and secondary treatment. So preliminary treatment, as the name implies, is rudimentary. We run it through a bar screen. We remove anything bigger than 5/8 of an inch, bowling balls, ladders, lumber. You'd be amazed what people can get in a 10-foot sewer. So funny stories, I'll save them all for later. But once all that's out, we then remove sand and grit. All those things are non-reclaimable. That to us is the extent of our waste. Everything beyond that point, we have a reuse for. So as we move to primary treatment, we add some chemicals. We use gravity to separate out organics especially. They settle down as sludge or rise as scum. Yes, technical terms. We pump it to a digester. All of that we turn into energy or fertilizer. So we make 11 megawatts of power between our 2 plants and 500 tons of fertilizer, all of that reused in non-human crops like alfalfa or cotton, for instance. We do a lot of composting also in the Central Valley, so some of that actually can be bagged and used. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, those kinds of places. So all of that is reused. Our secondary treatment is a biological system. That's where we polish the water. It comes in about 350 parts per million dirty. When we're done with it, it's got about 5 parts per million. That's normally very good water to release to the ocean, but OC San has been cooperating with Orange County Water District for a period of decades, and I am pleased to report that in the last few months, we've completed the last segment of our groundwater replenishment system. You see that on the screen as the next 3 processes. So we've been steadily working for the last 10 years to finish the system. We take the water that's perfectly good to release to the ocean. We microfilter it, which takes things out that are about 1/4 of a human hair. I don't have many samples to show you, but that fine filtering goes then to RO, which is so fine that it takes out salts in the water, viruses, bacteria. Almost nothing gets through that layer. And if something did, we blast it with UV light and peroxide, and what you have is the cleanest water in the county. We have an example on the podium. Councilman Wu has graciously agreed to drink some of our product. Yeah.
Yep, me too.
It's actually tastes like water. Yes. So we have just finished this last expansion. We can turn 130 million gallons of our water into drinking water. It's injected into the aquifer either to keep the seawater from coming out near the beach or all the way up in the Anaheim Lakes area. That is a big part of Orange County's drinking water portfolio. It can satisfy 1 million people in our county. So of the 2.5 million people we serve, 1 million are recycling the water. Along with the power we make and the biosolids we reuse, it's quite a success story. It is the largest water reclamation system in the world, bar none. It's about 4 times bigger than the next biggest, which is Singapore. So it's quite a gem for the county. So next item, please. We used to put a lot more water out in the ocean, so what you can see is a lot of our legacy work. We have been monitoring the coast all the way out to the end of our outfall. I haven't talked about that. It's that red pipe you see. It's 5 miles long total. It's 120 inches in diameter, so 10 feet in diameter. Goes out that 5 miles, but the last mile is a diffuser section. So it's got ports in the side, so it's not one blob of water heading out. It's water that's spread over a dilution zone. The water is pristine. You can see the pictures of the sandy bottom. We're looking at the water at the beach, in the water column, in the muds offshore to make sure marine life are in great shape. Twice a year we go out, catch fish, dissect them, make sure they're all healthy and clean. We've seen nothing but improvements in the overall beach marine life since we've been doing this in the 1950s. We have our own boat, the Narissa. It's going to be replaced here soon. So a lot of work goes on to make sure that everything's clean and safe along the beaches. Next slide, please. So we've got to the point where we're recycling all the water we can. All the reclaimable water that we have available is being reclaimed. Some will say, well, what's that mean? You don't want all the water in your drinking water supply. There are some industrial sources, there are some chemicals in there that are better left not in the drinking water supply, so we segregate those. We actually had to do the work to split our Huntington Beach plant to a reclaimable and non-reclaimable side. And if you think about a plant that started its design in the 1950s and has evolved through ever tougher treatment standards, that's quite an accomplishment to still make that plant work and be reliable and segregate reclaimable and non-reclaimable flow. All the flow at plant 2 that's reclaimable, after we're done with it, we pump it up to Fountain Valley with our partner, the Water District, and that will be a further augmentation of our water supply. So now, after water, we're looking at solids. How do we do a better job of treating solids? For 70 years, we've been taking our solids, digesting them, making gas, making power, making heat for the digesters. Again, no waste, but what's next? There's got to be something better in the next 70 years. So the sanitation district is moving forward with something called supercritical water oxidation. It is a high pressure, high temperature process that uses the fourth state of water. Nobody really teaches you about it. If I could get the teacher back in here, I'm sure she would know that at 3,200 PSI and 374 degrees Celsius, water doesn't act like ice, liquid water, or steam. It's supercritical. And when it does that, oil and water mix. So all the things you thought you knew about water get turned on their head. So if you can mix oils, fats, greases, organics with air, and they mix, they're going to oxidize. So you can see the two vials. The vial on the left is the sludge that went in, and the vial on the right is the water that came out. So in a 4-second span, we can convert all of those solids into carbon dioxide, water, nitrogen, and some dissolved minerals or precipitated minerals. It's quite an opportunity. We've built the first unit. It's in Indiana. It will be shipped to our facility in July. We hope to start it up and show that we can run it at 6 tons a day. When that works, we're going to try for 30 tons, and when that works, 200. And over the next 20, 30 years, we can actually have a process that will destroy microplastics. It will destroy PFAS and PFOA, for those of you that are familiar with these water pollutants. It's an exciting opportunity to turn our industry on its ear. Instead of just concentrating and wondering what we're going to do with these concentrated problems, we're finding a way that we can take those concentrated problems and make them go away. So stay tuned. That's on the agenda here for Orange County Sanitation. Your city. We are about to begin a project on the edge of your city. So the flow from Villa Park comes down to the edge of Meats. We pick it up there. The pipeline that used to go under the Meats Bridge, under the freeway, get to Tustin, it would turn left on Tustin down to Taft and turn right on Taft. We're going to reroute that line and upsize it to meet the needs of the city. There will be some traffic impacts on the edge of the city on Meats, Tustin, and Taft in the next 18 months. We're working with the City of Orange, who has the responsibility for the traffic there. predominantly night work to not affect the normal flow of traffic. We always work with the cities to make sure we impact as little as possible. Next slide. So you say, how do you pay for all this? I'm glad you asked. We charge less than $1 a day per resident. So if you have a home here in the service area, which obviously all of you do, you're going to pay $347 for the year for your home. So again, for less than $1 a day per home, we're providing all of that reclaimable water, doing a world-leading job. We're in the bottom third of the agencies that we compare to across the state. We have a long-term capital plan. We don't just use our assets up. We're spending on the other side of the ledger, you can see, about 268 to heading to 325 million a year to renew our assets. If you have $12 billion in assets, it takes about $250 to $300 million a year just to keep them up, because electronics are becoming obsolete, steel and concrete are being eroded and corroded, and mechanical things are wearing out. So we're constantly investing. We have a very efficient program to keep that moving, and we're here for the long term to serve you. And with that, I can certainly answer any questions, but if we go to the next slide, you can also get a lot of information online at all of these sources. So thank you for your time.
So thank you. That was, I learned a lot. It's funny because when you say OC San, you don't realize what all that means. So I really appreciate you coming and giving that very thorough and detailed and quite actually kind of exciting. But my question is about desalinization. Is that something that you guys would ever get into? Have you thought about that, or is that completely out of your realm?
Wastewater is for drinking, and water's for fighting. So we try to stay clear of desal because water districts do a really good job of discussing the merits and worrying about, I think the biggest way we get involved is our outfall, because the ability to dilute with our leftover water, their hypersaline outflow is one of the opportunities. I don't think it'll happen in north central Orange County. We currently have 85% of the water available to our residents in that service area I showed you. So we don't have the burning need in North County for that extra piece of water. South County, on the other hand, I think is where desal has a better place. They're importing 90% of the water, only getting 10% from local sources. So.
Interesting. Thank you.
I have to say that I went to the groundwater replenishment system event that you had a couple weeks ago, and I was so incredibly impressed with everything that you do. We got a little bit of the behind-the-scenes tour from Orange City Councilman Dennis Bilodeau, and really amazing. He walked us through the whole process. We got to see the filters. It really is so amazing what you do. So, I just have to say how much we're appreciated, everything that you guys do for us, because it's an incredible amount of water to provide for our residents out of sewage. So, yeah, incredible. Thank you.
I would say that the most incredible thing is the cooperation among the electeds more than anything else. You have two independent agencies that were able to figure out we have different needs, but we can make them overlap. And that is the thing that most other areas of the state can't get together. The wastewater people want to be paid for their water, and the water people want to take it for free. And it just becomes a tug of war. But you have to treat the water from end to end. And that's why desal fails. People can't agree on all the parts and pieces around the edge. So the electeds have done a great job in this county coming together and saying the needs of all 2.5 million people are what we're trying to serve, not sanitation needs and not just water needs. So, thank you.
Cool. Appreciate you coming, sir.
Have a great day. Thank you for the opportunity.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Okay. Bella Park Library, Christina. Good evening.
Good evening. I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to give you an update on the library. Wanted to talk about some special programs we have coming up for teens on, it's funny, I wrote this down earlier. Where is that? May 10th, we're having a painting craft for teens, and they can make a special project for their mothers for Mother's Day. So we're hoping we get a lot of teens for that. We have our knitting program continuing, and this is for adults and for teenagers, and we will have that on May 13th. And I wanted to spend some time talking about our summer reading program that will be from June 12th through July 31st. It's our really big program time through the year. And we have reading programs for children, teens, and adults. And you can read at your own pace, keep track of the time you read, and then be entered in opportunity drawings. Besides the reading portion of it and coming to the library and finding some new material for yourself, we also have in-person events. On June 26th, we're going to have a dino magician, and he works with dinosaur facts and different items, and he's going to present a magic show in the room here for us. On June 24th, we're having an author event with Dr. Christina Laporte. She wrote a medical thriller called Dissection, and she is a cardiologist at Hoag in Newport. We're really excited that she's coming. We're going to have a couple gardening events, including one on vegetables to grow in fall and spring. So it'll be a good time to attend that. And then we're going to have another gardening event on clippings and succulents and taking pieces of those and planting them in other locations. This last part of summer reading program we're excited for, and it's new to us. We're going to have 2 different bingo family events, and that should be a lot of fun. And it's for all ages. Adults can help out the kids, and we'll have little prizes for the winners. I wanted to also mention about our system-wide programs. We've got some wonderful authors coming to some of our libraries. So we have Viola Shipman, who is a best-selling author, is coming to our Laguna Niguel library on May 3rd. And the month of May, we celebrate Older Americans Month, and we're having an author and some different meetups and get-togethers to provide services for the community. We have our regular returning programs, our story times, and our reading buddies for the grades 1 through 4, where our teen volunteers sit with them and read with them to practice their reading skills. And I wanted to just mention 2 more things. Comic Orange is at our Tustin Library, and that will be Saturday, May 6th. It's from 11 to 3. We get hundreds of people that attend this. A lot of people come in costume as their favorite comic book character, or maybe their superhero. We'll have authors and different events and photo opportunities. So I hope a lot of people might go to that. Tustin is very close to us. And we have just wanted to remind people that the library has Chromebooks and hotspots available for checkout. And we also have board games and California State Parks passes. We have kindergarten readiness backpacks, which comes with different games and toys and books that match with it. We also have for the adults, book club in a box. If you have a local book club, it comes with 12 different books. Hopefully that's enough for your group, and you can borrow that, and it has a longer checkout period. And the resource I wanted to mention for this month is we do have an online homework help. It's called BrainFuse Help Now, and it's available from 1 to 10 p.m. It's for all ages, and they cover a wide range of different topics: math, science, reading, social studies, SAT prep. And you can actually send them your paper, and they can offer assistance on it. They won't write it for you, but they'll offer some feedback and guidance, and it really is quite handy. And so we do have that through our website. And anybody who needs to get in touch with us, we have many ways to get in touch. Call or come by, send us an email. We have an online chat as well. And we're always happy to help, and we're very excited for this summer. And we hope to see everybody at the library.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update.
What level of knitting classes is there? Is it all beginner or is it intermediate?
It's all
or-
levels. I'm sorry. It's all levels. We do have a couple of what I call ringers that are in the group, and they're a little bit more advanced, but everybody's welcome. And currently, right now, our program is for teens and adults, but then during summer, for summer reading program, we're going to have a weekday program for kids 8 and up to learn how to knit.
Oh, nice.
So we're excited.
Thank you.
We're fortunate one of our staff members is a very good knitter.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
AJ, you're up.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We actually had a really good month of statistical data and stuff for City of Villa Park. It was a very safe month. Actually, not a lot to talk about. We had 256 total calls in Villa Park. 70% of that was actually self-initiated deputy activity, which is a really good sign. And that's what's keeping, I think, the numbers down. I'm a firm believer that if deputies are here and they're out driving around and they're visible, it deters the kind of crime that we've seen over the past few years. So 72 calls to dispatch. Of those, 18 were 911 calls. And it just kind of serves as a reminder to what we want to use the 911 system for. So if it's not an emergency, we really encourage you to call the business line, the non-emergency line, which is the 647-7000, and really reserve the 911 number for true emergencies. So it can delay the real emergencies through our dispatch center. So that's just a reminder for that. Very minimal traffic incidents. We only had 3, I wouldn't even call them traffic accidents, or more incidents involving vehicles. One, a work truck backed into a gas line. Gas company came out, fixed that pretty quick. The other one, somebody just forgot to put their car in park and it rolled down into a wall. And then, so there were actually 0 injury traffic accidents and 0 non-injury traffic accidents. The only other one that was kind of similar, there was actually a metal object in the roadway over off of Lemon, and a couple of cars hit that. But that's just a reminder to people to secure their loads. There's probably people passing through the city, so just keep an eye out for stuff on the roadway. That stuff will come up and bite you, and then you got some expensive car repairs. So as far as criminal activity, property crimes, almost none. We had no residential burglaries, very minimal thefts. And it's just, I think it's a testament to that the residents are really stepping up their game. They're keeping an eye out for stuff. They're minimizing the opportunities. They're keeping their vehicles locked. The security systems are in place. The cameras are in place. And I think our investigators are doing a really good job on the back end of deterring people from coming into our area. So aside from that, we had the drug take-back day on Saturday, 4 hours. VP did extremely well. So I don't know if you saw the boxes, but we filled 11 of those, 105 pounds. So I don't think anybody has any more drugs in VP, so everybody's gonna be going to the doctor. So, but I'll take a flat of that water if he's got any, so I'll stock the fire station with it. So, but other than that, like I said, it was a very good month. A lot of citations being issued by our motor that's coming in for every month. And like I said, I got really nothing bad to say, honestly. Open any
Excellent
questions.
news. That's great.
So, trends are good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments, questions?
No.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You let me off the hook too easy.
Appreciate it.
I'm the opening act for the firemen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Great to be here with you tonight. Kind of going along with Captain Patella's report there, we had a little bit of a slower month this month as well. Since the last council meeting on March 28th, we had 63 units that were dispatched to only 26 incidents within the city of Villa Park. So great month overall. I also talked with of note this month in the city, our wildland defense planners have been busy meeting with city staff, I know, to work on the wildland defensible space inspections that need to be done as we head into the fire season. They did take into account the large volume of water we had fall from the sky this year. And so they're trying to delay them within reason so that the residents don't have to do any clearing and then have to clear again. So they're taking that into consideration. So if for some reason anybody says anything to you or you hear that they seem later than typical, that's the reason why we're doing it. So they'll still be done. They should still be done by the end of May, I believe. We have schedules for each of the areas that we have that are in the fire zones, basically, that have to do those inspections. Your crews are busy getting ready for the wildland season. They've been doing their RT 130, which is our annual refresher training for wildland firefighting. And then along with that, we have the safety message of the month. This month is certainly, and it will be kind of sounding this gong as we go through the next several months over the summer, will be water safety and drowning prevention. And so I don't know if you want me to continue with that now. And I know I think we have a proclamation coming tonight as well. So I can go into that after, sir, if you'd like to, if you want to do that.
It's okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I just want to reiterate, and I know I've said this before, but leading cause, and I think this will be on the proclamation, leading cause of death in children under the age of 5 is drowning. And it can happen in as little as 2 inches of water. I don't want to belabor this and go on for too long, but this is a very important topic to me, near and dear. As I mentioned it to Captain Patel as we were sitting over there tonight, we can both recall very easily incidents we've been on, drowning incidents we've been on, down to the sights, the smells, the bathing suits that were on, the children or the adults that were at the calls. And so it's certainly near and dear to us, and so we don't take this lightly. There's a lot of material we have at ocfa.org, and I urge you, I left some on the back counter actually, the ABCs of water safety, beach safety, and then barriers, how to put barriers around your pools. And so if they run out, please come see me. I'll give you my card and I can get you more, direct you to the website that we have. But at ocfa.org, under the safety tab on that page, there's excellent videos, very short, easy to watch. I mean, less than 2-minute long videos on drowning prevention and water safety. And so really it comes down to the ABCs of it. It's active adult supervision. B is for barriers, and C is for classes to learn CPR if you're going to be there. Again, in my conversation with my colleague, we were talking, and a lot of folks, and I highly encourage it, if you're having parties at your homes, an option is to certainly always make sure that you're intentional about assigning somebody to watch the water. Don't just assume. I was sharing with him several of the calls I've been on throughout my 25-year career now. They weren't by themselves. It was during backyard barbecues, typically towards the end of them, right, where everybody ends up migrating back to the house and the kids might still be out by the water. So I think a great investment. Captain Patel was just mentioning it. I've had several people do this where they hire somebody that's capable to be the lifeguard for the parties. You know, if you're going to have a party there, we all know that we can get distracted really easily. And then we also have water watcher tags that I'd be happy to provide for anybody in the city or any public pools, where it's just a lanyard. You put it around the neck and it's kind of like a tag you're it moment, right? Where if somebody needs a break, you hand it to somebody else and they are designated the water watcher. So don't mean to make it heavy, but it's certainly a serious topic of conversation, and we'll keep talking about it, I think, through the warmer months. So thank you, Mayor, for letting me go on.
I have to say, it pays off, to have someone watch the pool while the parents are doing barbecues is tremendous, because you take your eye off the water for a split second, and just like something's going to happen. And having someone focused on that event and watching it the entire time, and all the little children that are around the pool and so forth, because they get crazy. They're running around, having a good time, and not paying attention sometimes. But if there is a young adult or someone that's watching over them, it'll make a great bit of difference. And yes, always watch the water and never swim alone. That's our proclamation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Got to ask, anybody have a question?
No. I know where to get a hold of him.
I figured you did.
I might see him on Thursday.
Okay, at this time, we'll review comments from members of the public to address any off-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council, provided that no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. We will also be reviewing public comments on each agenda item. Steve, is there anyone that wrote in, or do we have comments?
Yeah, Kathy Tracy.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because most of you already know why I usually come here, but Jordan and Nicole, welcome. Oh, by the way, I just want to say good evening to the whole council, the mayor, and city staff. You guys are important too. Anyway, I just want to ask you, did you guys miss me? I've been gone a while. I had hip surgery back in July, but I was just wondering, I'm here today, I'm fully aware that we got approved, and so I'm excited about that, and that was for the budget of 2022 to 23, and that included Churchill Lane, Squire Circle, and Dotson Circle, or I think it's Circle, yeah. Anyway, okay, so 2022, on our street, we kind of waited around to see if there was any progress going on. And of course, I had my hip surgery in July, so I wasn't wandering around. But no word came around until I called Dawn. I said, hey, what's going on? I thought they were going to start working. And she says, oh, they found out there were some drainage issues on our street, Dotson. Anyway, school's almost out, and I'm trying to find out what the school agenda is, the process of happening when school's out, so I can tell my neighbors that, well, this is my 12th time here today, so I just want to give you guys a little background on that. But anyway, so I just want to be able to tell my neighbors what's happening, and so, you know, about our cars and where we're supposed to park and all that kind of stuff and when that is going to happen. So I know last, the year I kind of dropped the ball because I was getting ready for my surgery, and then afterwards I wasn't roaming the streets too much, So anyway, so that's why I'm here to find out. Does anybody know, after it got approved through the budget, I was happy, and we didn't know what that really means.
Well, we have it scheduled.
So let me just clarify. Item number 8 today, you recall back in January, we went out for the bid for the construction management. That award for construction management's on the agenda for this evening, approval by the contract. And item number 9 is the approval of the actual construction contract. So at this point, then in May, they'll start staging, and in June, when school gets out, you'll start seeing activity with the contract. So providing the council approves both the construction management and the contract today, I guess it's not number 9, it's number 7 and 8, I'm sorry, my apologies. 7 is the contract for construction management, 8 is the actual award of the construction contract. In total, we're probably spending it's over $2 million that are being awarded tonight with activity to begin in May. So while she may not have seen activity, we had to go out for, I believe it was a 60-day RFP process, and we are exactly on the schedule we indicated last September.
Great, okay, that's what I wanted to know, because I didn't know what happened. And, I've been meaning to come over to talk to you about some things, but I just wanted to
So there'll be a full public education. We'll put a map on the feeder and on our website about when work will be done, a schedule. As we did with the past project, we put a schedule of when work will happen and things like that. So there will be a major disruption on those streets. So we're trying to avoid school hours. And so we, as you recall, Nick Dotson, et cetera, we are, and Nichols are involved. So we had to try and avoid the school rush.
Yeah,
So
I know
that's
that
what we're
was
working.
the issue. So I found out that from Donna. So I know there's a process, but I just want to be aware of the process so it doesn't fall by the wayside for another year. I know we're on the budget for this year and last year.
No, so when the construction contract gets awarded, they have a time frame in which they have to execute services. So we would expect it to be done. Our goal is to have it completely done, finished, striped, et cetera, by the end of the summer months. so that when school starts up, our streets are in good repair.
Okay, they will be repaired by the time school starts up.
That's
in the
our,
fall.
that's our,
If you have
That's our goal.
questions or comments, feel free to drop by City Hall or call
Well, yeah.
anytime.
Now I'm up and roaming around now pretty good, so I plan on doing that. But I just wanted to introduce myself to Nicole and to Jordan, I know already, but here at the meeting because I know you guys, so I just wanted to introduce myself to them and to let them know I've been working on this really hard, and my neighbors see me, and I just want to be able to tell them what's going on. And I kind of dropped the ball after we got approved, and I figure, and then when we didn't hear anything about it, that's the reason why I said, what's going on? I thought we were supposed to be walking, and I wasn't leaving the house anyway, but I just was wondering, what was happening.
But
Okay.
we're on track for you, and we appreciate you coming by.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Any other public comments?
nobody else is,
Okay, now we'll move into our agendized public hearings. Our first hearing is to review, to waive reading in full of all ordinances and resolutions on the agenda. I'll now open the hearing. Staff, please give the report.
thank you, Mayor. This is the item that we have every month that allows us to expedite the reading and moving forward on our agenda and voting. So we'd recommend approval.
Any questions, comments? Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Move in a second. Steve,
You could vote.
vote.
The-
Oh, we have our thing.
It's hiding.
Fighting.
That passes 5-0.
Okay. The next hearing is variance 2023-04 at 9492 Andrew Circle. I'll now open the hearing. Staff, please give the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, as you recall, a variance that was continued from the March 28th City Council meeting at a request of the applicant, who I will express is here this evening and has submitted a blue step so to answer questions. I'll let Justin make the, Justin Urbanski make the presentation, and will be available to answer questions when he's done.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you is variance 2023-04, which I will now present. The application involves 9492 Sandra Circle, and the subject property is one of only 2 houses at the end of a cul-de-sac, and it's currently improved with a 3,800 square foot, 2-story single-family dwelling and a pool. And the property owner and applicant is Jerry Horoff. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. The focus of the application is a 350 square foot porch, of which 150 square feet will encroach into the 30-foot front yard building setback. As proposed, the porch would sit 21.5 feet away from the front property line, which is a deviation of 8.5 feet from the required setback. In addition to the porch, a new attached 3-car garage, a storage room, and room additions will also be constructed. These additions will comply with all required city development standards, including but not limited to setbacks, height limitations, the floor to area ratio, lot coverage, and landscaping requirements. And because of that, they are not in scope of the variance. Please note, as Steve mentioned, that the variance was continued from the March council meeting for several reasons. First, the applicant shifted the garage away from the side setback and attached it to the main house, thus eliminating the need for a conditional use permit. The applicant also heard concerns from nearby neighbors and council members about the original proposed 12-foot front yard setback, and thus decided to move the porch to its current location with a 21.5-foot setback to better address those concerns. The variance continuation allowed the property owner to revise the plans accordingly and to allow city staff to update the application as well. The applicant justifies the variance application for several reasons. First, the property has a large slope at its rear, which significantly reduces the buildable area. Despite being about 20,000 square feet in size, the property possesses just about 6,200 square feet in buildable area. In addition, the existing house is legal non-conforming and encroaches over 1.5 feet into the required side yard setback. Pursuant to the zoning ordinance, public hearing notices for the variance requests were mailed and posted at least 10 calendar days prior to the public hearing, and it was also published in a local newspaper. To date, we've received a supplemental letter of justification and plans of the proposed additions. I've also received 1 letter of support and 1 letter of opposition to the variance. They are not in the staff report because I just received them recently. If you would like, I can read those now. Finally, with close examination of the neighborhood, the application, and the zoning code, city staff is recommending approval of the variance. The property has a large slope, which significantly reduces the buildable area, and the existing house is legal nonconforming. These conditions make it difficult for the property owner to construct additions in accordance with development standards. With that, I will conclude my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer questions or concerns.
You want to read those letters,
Yes.
please?
So the first letter of support reads as follows. We are neighbors of Pam and Jerry Horoff. We live on the corner of Sandra Circle and Pamela Place. Our properties share a common fence. We have had the opportunity to review their plans for the remodel of their home. As part of the remodel, they are planning to build a covered walkway that will connect their new garage to the front entrance of their home and will be an integral part of the remodel design. The covered walkway will partially be within the city's 30-foot front yard setback requirement. We understand that they are requesting a variance from the city council to accomplish this construction. We are supportive of the remodel plans. We feel the remodel will enhance the aesthetics and value of the neighborhood. Their overall design will fit well within Villa Park. Due to the configuration of their lot with a limited buildable area, they have done a good job of designing the remodel of their home in a manner that only requires a variance for a limited portion of an outside covered walkway and front porch entrance. They have further undertaken revisions to their plans that limit the front yard setback variance request to only a small section of the front porch, and that is at least 21 feet from the front property line. We encourage you to approve this variance request as they have requested. Regards, Dan and Chris Wood. And the second letter is a letter of concern from 9491 Sandra Circle from Tony and Tracy Murray. It reads as follows. We live at 9491 Sandra Circle, the only neighbor to Mr. and Mrs. Horoff at 9492 Sandra Circle. We are thrilled for them on the remodeling project of their home. There are a few concerns that we have for the council based on the plan submitted to the city of Villa Park. First, we would like to break up the proposed remodel into two parts. First, remodel of existing structure. Villa Park ordinance has a setback of 30 feet for a main structure. At its closest point, the setback is 21 feet. While we appreciate that they have updated the remodel from the original 12 feet that was submitted to now 21 feet, we object to this encroachment. We feel this brings the structure too close to the street and takes away from the beauty of Villa Park which encompasses the large stretched out front yards. Second, addition of new structure. Villa Park is a community of homes on larger lots with homes that set back at 30 feet and 50 feet for a second structure. Large front yards with hardscape and landscape that leads to a new home. This proposed plan takes away from the community concept of this. Further, it seems as though they have revamped the plans, and by what seems to be a loophole, they are attaching the second structure to the main structure by adding a small water heater closet that is not accessible by both structures and not really a part of either structure. By doing this, the 50-foot setback requirement for the second structure appears to no longer be a concern. Is that the spirit of the ordinance on this? They share a common wall, but with zero access from one structure to the other. Usable space. It is noted that the plans make up the 50% requirement, but do they? When you count the large, steep slope on the property, how is that usable? The steep slope is currently visible from the street. This sits in front of most of that. Our concern on this is that we will see all we will see is a very large structure rather than the traditional setback homes with lots of landscape. Sandra Circle is a street of just two homes. Currently, both are set back and have an abundance of landscape in the front yard areas. This remodel plan takes away from that and constructs a new, large building barely connected to an even larger structure. Unfortunately, with the change of council meeting dates from March to April, we have a pre-planned trip and are not able to be present at the council meeting on April 25th. Please accept this as our written feedback to the proposed changes.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Council members, any questions, comments for staff?
So just to clarify, the bulk of this letter of opposition is the addition of the new structure. That's outside the scope of the variance, correct?
Yes, as I understand it.
Okay. And then as far as encroaching on the front setback, I believe these neighbors also encroach on the front setback?
Yes, we understand that there was a agreement between them and the city to encroach into their front setback as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Council members, anybody? Move on? Okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to go out of my way to thank the applicant for trying to work with the city, work with his neighbors. He took the time to meet myself impromptu in his cul-de-sac while I was driving the kids home from something. And I also had the opportunity to meet with one of the critics, or I should say speak with one of the critics by phone. And though I understand their concerns, I think this is going to be a beautiful structure, a wonderful addition to our community. And I think it parallels in certain ways the home across the street. And I, with all due respect, I don't think they have a leg to stand on. I'm supportive of this variance, and I appreciate the level of transparency, in particular, that this applicant and those that he employed conducted themselves and went out of their way for us. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just want to echo what Mayor Pro Tem Rossini said, and I mentioned to you yesterday. If all the residents went through the steps and transparency and agreeableness and accommodation, things would probably run much smoother on some of these variance requests. So I kudos to you. What great citizens and part of a community.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak or wrote in or anything?
No, the applicant is here. Should you want him to speak?
Evening, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, thank you for taking the time. Pam and I want to thank you for the support at the March council meeting, granting us a continuance of our variance request. As I stated at that meeting, we wanted to take the feedback and suggestions we had received from council members and neighbors to look at possible revisions to our plans. We've worked with the architect to do that and submitted plans to the city planning staff. I really want to thank Justin and the city planning staff for all they've done, providing us feedback, expert counsel, and regarding all the ordinances and requirements so that we can navigate through that. So thank you, Justin. The primary revision to our plan was to change the shape of our planned wraparound front porch that connects the front entry to the garage. Our revised plans call for an angled front porch instead of a squared-off front porch that I described to the various council members when they came by. So we've changed that. That's the primary change. This change has moved the closest front porch from 13 feet from the property line in our previous plans to 21 feet from the property line. We acknowledge that our revisions there, front porch within the required 30-foot setback, are within the 30-foot setback and therefore the need for the requested variance. In exploring various alternatives, designs, we find it impossible to stay completely outside of the 30-foot setback requirement while still maintaining a covered walkway from the garage to the front entry. We've worked diligently to minimize that as much as possible. Due to the limited buildable area of our lot, a separated garage is a necessity to achieve our intent of building a first-floor master bedroom. I would like to point out that at all times, the house and the garage structures will be outside the 30-foot setback. It is only the posts for the front porch that we are seeking a variance. The second change we have made, primarily to accommodate our neighbors, have been made to shift the new 3-car garage to the east, make it an attached garage, and eliminate the second-story storage room that was over the garage. These changes will create more green space on the west side of our garage and widen the distance from the garage to the property line. By eliminating the second-story storage room, we will also lower the profile of the garage structure. The city's planning staff has calculated a required 13-foot side yard setback based on the dimensions of our lot. The current plans call for a side yard setback of 16.5 feet. We are still working with our architect to finalize dimensions for the garage, but are requesting no variance for the front, side, or height requirements for the garage structure. Our only variance request is for the front porch. The city planning staff has informed us that there are no precedents for variance requests and that each request stands on its own. Our request is based on our intent to build a first-floor master bedroom while having a limited building area to work with. We have worked with our architect and city planning staff to achieve this within the city setback requirements to the extent possible. The variance request is for the front porch posts that we were not able to design around, but that we've worked to keep at a minimum. I would note that 2 neighbors with similar situated cul-de-sac lots have received variances in the past for front porch posts that are 21 feet from the property line. We hope that our good faith effort to revise our plans as described will be reviewed favorably by the City Council, and that we will be given the same consideration for approval as our neighbors have been given in the past. And I'm open to any questions you have.
Questions, council? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anything else, Steve? All right,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We'll close here, but go ahead. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve.
To approve.
Okay.
To approve.
Okay, thank you.
Blessings on your home.
Good luck, it's gonna be beautiful.
I just want to go on that top treetop with my coffee in the mornings.
So now we'll consider our consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and are usually enacted by one motion approving the recommended action list on the agenda. Any member of the city council, staff, or public may request an item be removed from the consent calendar for discussion or separate action. Council members, are there any items 3 through 6 that you would like to remove from the consent calendar?
I would like to remove item number 5.
Okay. Did you? Okay. So do I have a motion on the rest?
So moved.
Second.
Move to second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0. I would note for number 5, we also have Victor Bowie, who is requested to speak on number 5.
Okay. All right. So, Councilman Wu and Councilwoman, you all asked for that to be pulled. Can you tell us what you'd like to know? Or?
I would like to hear from Mr. Bowie first, and then I can say something.
So just for purposes of clarification, we should probably introduce the item.
Yes, I think, because I think it was a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
It might
So
help to
this is
clarify.
a continuation of the action taken by, a follow-up to the action taken in March by the city council, at which time the council voted to deny the proposed variance. At that time, we did not have a resolution with findings to deny it. So we indicated that we would bring that back ministerially for action by the council. Hence, the item as it's brought forth today, item number 5, is the variance to the resolution that denies the variance requested number 2023-05 for 19171 Mesa Drive. So the action today is a follow-up again to the March hearing in which the council voted to deny the variance requested at that time.
And to clarify, if you vote yes, you are denying the
If you vote yes to approve the resolution, it denies the variance as consistent with the action taken in March.
okay, all right. Good evening, sir.
I'm sorry for my informal speech because I come unprepared. And the reason I come here to ask for permission from the city council to let me extend my variation for my project, and we can make a few changes to without getting the deny from the variance.
What are you asking us to do?
I would just want to ask for the extension for the variance.
An extension?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we can
So,
do
so
this.
the extension would be, in essence, I believe, for terminology, a continuation of the action that was recommended. So there was no vote taken today. So let me clarify, and Todd can jump in if he needs to. But basically, if you don't approve the action today, the variance is it's just in a holding pattern. You would have to reschedule, if you wanted to reconsider the item, you'd have to reschedule a public hearing, or you could just simply continue this item to a future date, at which time you could vote again to approve the resolution to deny. So you have a couple of options in front of you, and not to make it confusing, but it is confusing. But basically, I believe, and I don't want to speak for him, but I believe he's requesting that no action be taken by the council and possibly allow him time to review with the plans or with the neighbors or whatever, at which time the council could reconsider anything that would come forward. I believe that's what he's asking for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So Mayor, if you will, yeah, so this is still part of the process for this approval. It was continued to this hearing. As Steve noted, there wasn't a resolution specifically as far as findings of denial. So it was continued to allow those to be put together for your review and sign off. But if you do not want to go forward with those, you being a majority of you, this can still be continued in that same process to the next meeting. Theoretically, you could approve the variance tonight and approve a different resolution. I would not recommend that because this was set up to be really just an approval of the denial resolution. But if you want to give the gentleman more time to see what he can do, it would just be a continuation either to the next or subsequent city council meeting at a date certain.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman?
So today I was contacted by Mr. Bowie and requesting the continuation. And at that time, I contacted two of the neighbors to the Mesa property to see if they would be in support. They spoke last time against the variance. And both residents said that they would be in support of continuing this and seeing if the neighbors can all work together to find a good solution to this problem.
Did those neighbors put anything in writing or communicate via email or anything?
This was very late this afternoon, so I just spoke with them both verbally.
And did they know about the meeting tonight?
They did.
They
Yes,
couldn't
no,
show up.
and it was just too last minute. Like I said, I got your phone call, about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
That was last minute. If I can make a comment. So I appreciate you coming down, and I kind of feel, and this is me personally, in my seat as a council person, that when the council takes action on something, that's we get into weird waters if we take action and then a month later we come back and go, well, maybe the action should be reconsidered or postponed or delayed. We had overwhelming attendance from residents that indicated strongly, either by showing up or through written correspondence, asking us to deny this. So I'm not quite sure what look that gives us if we've taken action and then we come back and don't. It's a bad precedent. We made a decision, and I believe we go forward with that.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
Go ahead.
I actually would ask the council to reconsider the vote from last month. Simply, after the vote or after the meeting, I have spoken to a couple of the residents. They have informed me they did not understand the difference of just a flat out no on variance versus continuous to the following months. After I explained to them, they agree it should be continuous, so that way they could have the opportunity to talk to the applicants and also the owner. As I stated last month, I feel strongly we should continue this process, allowing the applicant to come up with a better solution to hopefully meet the needs of the residents immediately around, and also provide the council a new plan. As it is now, yes, I understand your concern. If we vote forward, we really cut out the ability from the council and also the possibility allowing the neighbors to share their concern or share where they see how this property can meet everybody's need. I understand it is going to be hard. Since Mr. Bowie is here, I think that is a representation that they are willing to work with the neighbors, and they understand our city has guidelines. And personally, I don't think these rear setbacks should be they're asking for 10 feet and 6 inches. I would like to see more. I would like to see wider that setback. Our city ordinance is 25 feet. This is a very oddly shaped property. And also, not just oddly shaped, it's also the slope that they had to deal with. I ask my fellow council members to reconsider, to allow them to come up with a better solutions. In the meantime, they can also talk to the neighbor or talk to us to see where we see how it could be. The worst thing I don't want to see is the owner move in and there's already bad feeling in the water. That is not really neighboring. I would like to provide this opportunity, allowing the owner and the neighbor kind of talk to each other, because I firmly believe, and I believe rest of you believe, we want to create this friendly neighborhood. This is not the way to allow it. So that's why I urge everyone can reconsider.
Thank you.
Do you have?
Go ahead, sir.
Let's just recap. This is a ministerial motion, right? This is just typically approved. Okay. So I appreciate your clarification, but that did definitely muddy the water. This architect and the applicant was given an olive branch and an invitation by community members to come and have a meeting in his own home so they could discuss it. They turned that down. We heard very loud and clearly from the affected residents. In droves, they came out. I've met with them afterwards, and they couldn't be more thrilled with the fact that this variance was denied. Correct me if I'm wrong, they can still build on this lot. They just, right?
They have
So
to.
there's nothing prohibiting them from building.
Correct. They would have to stay within the parameters set forth in our code and ordinances.
Right, so we're not denying him the opportunity to build. In fact, he can go ahead and build on it. He can build a home that's appropriate within the guidelines for that lot after he does all of the due diligence, which quite obviously he did not want to do, did not want to spend the money, did not want to reach out, did not want to talk with neighbors. And that's unfortunate. So with all due respect, I think that this is not how we should conduct ourselves as a city council, doing an end run, in my opinion, around residents who are not here, who spoke extremely loud and clearly that they did not want this to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more.
You're next.
So I do have documentation after that last meeting of residents that texted me or emailed me, and I'm happy to bring it up, about how grateful they were that the council listened to all the residents that were here. So you said that you had spoken to some residents afterwards that were unclear about what a no meant versus, can you provide any of that documentation that they would be willing? Do they email you? Did they text you?
I spoke to them on the phone.
So there's no documentation that you can pull up?
No,
And
I
they're not
spoke to
here
them on the
tonight.
phone. I understand, and I can provide the name who I spoke to. And I understand if we move forward with this resolution, yes, the owner still can build the way it should be. But if we really want to try to promote neighboring conduct, we should really try to create this dialogue for them. Otherwise, the property will fit the need of the code, but we are cutting out the possibility, allowing the neighbor to give their feedback. Why, if you move it this way, you will encroach my privacy? Can you do this way and try to lessen the privacy issue? The whole point I'm trying to bring up is more that, I feel last month it was so heated because residents are so used to empty lot for decades and decades. And all of a sudden, someone's gonna come in to build something. If I were there, I will be honest, I will not be happy. But I also have to understand owner has their rights to build. I mean, they bought a property to build. I just want to create, hopefully allowing our council to create this possible dialogue for them to try to come up with some, what's what I'm looking for, just work together. So.
Thank you, thank you. Councilwoman?
Yes, to Councilwoman Miles's point that, she feels this sets a bad precedent, I think this sets a fabulous precedent. It's like one of the reasons why people like to live in a small town is that sort of individual attention. The fact that we are flexible, that there is no need to be overly punitive. Obviously, the architect has, chosen now to get involved. Before you weren't. I think you realize that maybe that wasn't the best path forward, but now he's willing to move forward, as are, the two neighbors I talked to today. And I think that we should, encourage that and move that forward. So, we can always deny it if the plan that's brought forward isn't, what we think it should be, if it's not what the neighbors think it should be. And I specifically asked the neighbor I spoke with today if they would mind coming back to a second meeting, because I want to be respectful of their time. And they said, absolutely not. They welcomed the opportunity of working with their new neighbor and said that it would be no problem at all to come to another meeting.
We'd like to push this along. Go ahead.
Make it extremely quick, is speaking to the applicants, he has shared with me this is the first time they have dealt with the city that they actually come in front of the council. In the past, they just directly deal with the planning department of each city. So this is new to them. So they did not really understand the process. I think now they understood the process, and that's why he is here. So I don't think he really mean any disrespect to any of us or the neighbors. It just, they did not understand the process. Although I understand Ray and Justin has specifically tried to explain to them how the process, but I will be honest, I'm only sitting here since December. There are still so many things I'm learning. And I could respect and understand why they possibly just don't know what to do at the moment until last month. So that I only ask everyone to try to give a benefit of the doubt and really encourage positive dialogue.
So is there a motion on this matter?
There is no motion now. The council can either make a motion to approve the resolution as presented, which denies, or they can make an alternative motion depending on what the maker of the motion would want to suggest.
I'll make a motion to approve it as it's written, which denies.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have a?
We have your motion and second, so we'd vote on that unless there's.
Unless there's a substitute.
I think we have a substitute motion.
I just want to make sure with her motion, if we vote no, what does that mean?
If you vote, well,
If you vote no, it doesn't pass. And there is no resolution approving anything or denying anything. And then we got to figure out what to do next, because we have to either say yes or no eventually.
Since that's the case, may I propose to make a motion to allow continuation? Is that the proper term? What's the
So
proper
you're making
term?
a motion, a substitute motion, which we would vote on first, to continue this item until the next meeting? Is that your motion, or what's your motion?
I think I would probably ask the applicant, is 1 month from now enough time for you to come up with a new plan, or you need 2 months? I mean, what would be comfortable for you to come up with, adequate plan that you feel you can satisfy the neighbors and also the council?
I think 2 months is pretty good for me because we have a little bit overload with project from other city too. So 2 months is like the best time for me.
Since that's the case, then I would make the motion to continuous for 2 months.
June.
Is that
That's
okay?
fine. It's your motion. I just don't know what the fourth Tuesday in June is.
There's a second on the motion?
It's June 27th.
So I would make the motion to resume this topic on June 27th.
June 27th.
If I could
I'll
get
second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a
So
second.
that is a substitute motion on that we'll vote on first.
Please,
So
please.
no means no. Right, on this one?
No means that the motion to continue it is not approved.
Correct, okay.
Double negatives.
Had to think about that.
Come by.
So the motion to continue until June 27th approves by a 3-2 vote.
Okay, thank
The
you.
matter is continued until June. What I would because I love giving other people work, I might suggest that the city council direct staff to renotice it as well.
Yes.
To everybody who got
Absolutely.
notice before.
And I would suggest that as part of that notice for full public disclosure, that we include proposed plans. Because the last plans that were distributed were the ones that you considered back in March. So I would suggest that if there is an alternate proposal, that that be distributed in advance of the June meeting.
I think we need to go one step further because we heard from a number of residents about where are they going to stage their construction equipment? Where is the soil going to come in? How much soil is going to come in? Have they done a soils report? None of which was answered. None of it was provided by the residents. So you have some very knowledgeable residents that are very accommodating, tried to invite the architect, tried to invite the owner into their home, and the door was shut. So since they want to have another bite at the proverbial apple here, then I think they need to step up their game and provide the highest level of transparency possible.
Thank you,
Could I
sir.
ask-
Appreciate it.
Could I ask a question for clarification? Is staging of construction equipment and soils, is that part of the variance process?
Typically not. But however, the council can add whatever stipulations they want to as part of the approval process.
But it's still part of the approval process to get, to even build.
To-
It's a standard condition for any
Yeah.
construction.
Right,
Thank you.
we have traffic
Thank you.
control, we have all those things as part of the building permits, we have all those requirements.
And this is a very unique street in that it is extremely narrow. Extremely narrow. Thank you.
And before I forget, Justin, let's, when we do the staff report, let's have both an approval and a denial res zone, so we don't,
We don't get caught in this dilemma again, yeah.
right?
Yes, sir, please. Thank you. All right, thank you.
So
sir.
that becomes, the motion to continue is there with additional direction to staff to include those items that you suggested. And I don't want to go try and read them all, I'll forget one or two, but basically, I think we got the message that we need to have that done. And those would be completed in advance of the June 27th council meeting.
Okay,
I think we're there.
thank you.
Thank you for supporting and your opinion, council member.
Thank you. Our first item of new business is the Inspection Construction Management Services Contract, fiscal year 2022-23 Annual Street Rehabilitation Project. Staff, please give the report.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, as we talked about, the first step of the moving forward. We talked about construction management, an integral part of any project completion. This we went out to bid for. We have basically came back with 4 bids. We're recommending that the lowest bid being in infrastructure engineers for $81,727. We would recommend approval of a contract with them to move forward on construction management for the street project.
Any questions, council members?
Can I just say one thing, Mayor?
I'm sorry?
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
So I forget the lady's name, but she's been yelling at us for 2 years. She should have stayed for this. This is what she wanted. I'm sorry. I'm done.
That's okay, that's all right. All right, no comments? Anybody from the public? Steve, write in or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. We have a motion on this matter?
I'll move it.
Second.
Move in second, please vote.
Since everybody left, can we turn the air up a little bit? It's
Yeah.
freezing.
It's definitely cooled off.
You will notice, because there's so many variances, just for a side note, we've installed little covers on because we'll come in, sometimes it's 78 degrees in here, and sometimes it's 60
Yeah, but I
degrees
know
in
in
here.
the
so
morning
we-
on Rotary, when we have Rotary on Thursday, it's steaming hot in here.
Yeah, so we have tried to, we're going to regulate a little bit, see if we can't help our utility bills here.
Are you not voting?
Next item. Okay.
Passes 5-0, yeah.
Okay. Our next item of business is the award of the construction contract for 22-23 annual street rehabilitation.
So, thank you, and this is the actual awarding of the construction contract, which is probably the most important element here of the project. And for those who are watching or might watch, this sets in motion the actual construction. There's a performance element in here, so the contractor has a certain amount of time to take action, et cetera, provide his bond, et cetera. So that moves forward. You're starting the wheels in motion to actual activity happening. And I think as it states in there, the work, you'll start seeing some real activity on the streets in May. And that will be starting not close to the schools at that time. They'll be staging elsewhere, et cetera. So we went out to bid. Our lowest bid was to Onyx Paving Company. I will note that the construction itself, the cost of asphalt, as we talked about, because of inflation, did go up higher than the engineer's estimate. However, we have looked through and we've gone through our various funding sources, and we do have sufficient funds to pay for it as originally planned. So there's no streets left off, nothing's left off. We're moving forward. We recommend approval of the contract with Onyx Paving Company, Inc. in the amount of $1.8 million for our project.
Have any public comments?
No, sir.
No. Council members? Question? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Move and second, please vote.
This passes 5-0.
The next item, new business, is a contract with John L. Hunter and Associates.
Before we go there, one of the things we will be doing is a whole public education element. We'll be posting on our website when it'll happen. We post a map of what streets are affected, a calendar of when activity is going to happen. So I know that the speaker was concerned about when people can work, people could park. That's all identified, and we'll be provide warnings. And we also have requirements that the contractor have to notify house by house when things are affecting their street, so that they'll get notified. Just for the record, again, for anyone who might be watching, we can answer questions in advance as opposed to hearing afterwards.
So staff report on John L. Hunter.
Yes, John L. Hunter is a contractor we use for NPDES, and I think it's National Pollutant Discharge Emission, a National Pollutant Discharge something else. Anyway, it's a national program that requires us to deal with runoff and those types of activities that would affect the flow and the water that comes, any sort of flow that might get into our drainage system. We go out to bid because we do not have the expertise to do all the monitoring and the state reporting and requirements at, so we contract with John L. Hunter. They do a wonderful job. We pay about $20,000, just around $20,000 a year. So we have a 5-year contract, I believe, that will be about $107,000, so it's about $21,000 a year and change. We'd recommend, they do all our filings, and I will just point out, back in the early 2000s, somewhere in there, Todd may remember, but prior to my time, the city did not have a contractor to do this. We did not have an NPDES plan, and we were fined, I think, $100,000 at the time.
No, we got it cut to 50.
Okay, well, we were originally fined, but anyway, so this is something we're doing that's a necessity, and it allows us to stay in compliance with state and federal law. So we recommend approval.
Okay, any comments, questions? All right, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, vote.
That passes by a 5-0 vote.
Next item is the new business, is a contract with, how do you say that?
Trepepi Smith.
Trepepi Smith.
It's a tongue twister. Say it 5 times fast.
Tripoli or something like that. So go ahead, Steve.
So this is a contract with Trepepi Smith that does our streaming and recording of our council meetings. The staff are in the back right now. You've seen them all, and they're the ones that provide the eventually we load onto YouTube. What we had previously was we had a flat rate amount for council meetings, et cetera, and we're transferring it now to a contract with is a time and materials basis because sort of it's $95 an hour. Alyssa and I did the math, and depending on scenarios, if you guys go on long meetings, it doesn't pan out as much. But based on what we're average performance, we're going to save money as a result of the contract because of moving to an hourly rate with time and materials. They'll increase on a mutual agreement. Each year they have to come through me to deal with any increases. And again, Trepepi Smith has done a very good job. They've helped us through things, and they're widespread use throughout the county. So I think they're a proven entity, and we're we're happy with them, and I think it's a move that will help us be more efficient and cost-effective in the way we produce the council meetings. Which, by the way, we're actually now using them to do, the Water District has asked us to use this and want to use our firm to do it. So they'll be paying for their own thing. But again, it's a way to help make this more efficient and cost-effective. So we'd recommend approval.
Okay. Anybody write in?
No, sir.
Okay. Comments, questions? Have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Move and second. Please vote.
That passes 5-0.
Our next item is the approval of the 23-24 OC Animal Care Notice of Intent. Staff, please give the report.
Thank you. Back in 2016, we had an original 10-year agreement which allowed them to build the new shelter, at the same time provide field services. We've used the county animal care, or I believe they're called animal care services, for animal field services and shelter services. They provide 12 other cities, and basically we provide an annual cost to them. Part of the contract, they have to, no payment to them. They provide us a cost estimate each year, which is based on the utilization of how many calls per, of their whole service, and a proportionate share we get billed on. Quite honestly, their notice of intents are always high. We've always been undercharged because we don't have the same level of field services, et cetera. However, because of coyote activity, and this year is a little high, we may actually hit this amount. I've been working with them, and we have some concerns because they are filling positions because they're short-staffed, et cetera, and weren't able to fill. So they've increased the contract significantly from a notice of intent. So it's like sort of an estimate of what they're going to bill us each year. We're uncomfortable with the long-term sustainability of that type of thing, but at the same time, I think there are measures that they've started to take and we can work with them on to mitigate that. For instance, we get credits for all of our licensing revenue. So if you license your dog, we get credit for the revenue. Interestingly enough, only 6 out of 10 people in Villa Park license their dogs. That's something that just as an information item is probably not good. We need to have higher. We are the highest in the county, but 60% or 63% where we're at is low. The national average is just over 50%. But there are some real advantages to, licensing your dog, meaning that you know where it is, you can find it, and they can return it, et cetera. So there are some things that we want to do and we can increase that. So that's an education process we're working with them on. So there are some things we're trying to mitigate it. But again, animal control does a very good job responsive to things. They do some things they don't respond to, like people want them to scare away all the coyotes, and they're not going to do that if they're healthy and they're not bothering humans. They're indigenous, so to the community. So certain things they don't do, but they do most of our services pretty well. And they also do what we have surprisingly large number. They work with us on exotic animal licenses in Villa Park. We do have a lot of exotic animals that people keep, and they have to have licenses or permits for that, and they help us inspect that. Mm-hmm. So, I can't even describe what they are. I mean, there's a lot of just odd animals that people have here. Anyway, with that, we would recommend approval with the understanding that we are working with the county to control costs.
Okay. Questions, comments, motion? So moved. You got a second?
Second.
Second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Next item, new business, the approval amendment to the agreement with Gruber and Associates.
You'll recall just last month, we received the audit clearance, the external audit that we do every year by law. And they basically review all of our financial statements to ensure that they're accurate and reflect our true activities and there's nothing inappropriate going on and our account balances are accurate, et cetera. By law, we have to do that each year by an external auditor. We went out 3 years ago, and they were the only firm that came back and provided a bid. At that time, they had 2 supplemental years that they were willing to do. So we're basically exercising that the next 2 years as part of this action. They've done a good job. It's about $17,000 for the first year, and the second year would be about $18,000, which reflects a 3% increase on the 2 years, each of the 2 years. So we would recommend approval.
Okay. Questions, comments? Motion?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second. Vote. Next is,
Passes by a 5-0 vote.
next is the approval of NV5 engineering contract amendment.
So we talked about this at our budget workshop. I think we had a discussion of this. Basically, as a result of the workload that we're doing on the project for capital projects, and also the work that's being done and requirements that are required for hydrology reports and reports that state requires, et cetera, the county assumes certain liability on drainage and things like that. So we have to review and do that kind of work. One of the things that's really important, one of the councilmen asked me a question, is this something that they're driving or we're driving? We're driving it because our goal has always been to have 30-day reviews of that's our goal for plan check. All right, in order to do that, there's only so many hours in a day, and if you only contract for an engineer to a certain amount of time, it doesn't get done. So we've had an assistant, so Marus, and you met with her, those were at the dedication on Sunday. She's the assistant that we have there. And Hamid is the other one we use. So basically, we have enough work that's keeping us busy when we add in the capital project. The capital project that you just approved, that $2 million budget, includes the engineering element for that we'll have. And that's about 60% of all this amount increase. Again, I take this very seriously. I'm very careful about our money, but it is something that if we're going to provide the kind of services that the residents and the people deserve in Villa Park, we have to make sure that we have the staff available to get the work done. So with that, we're recommending a contract with a one-year contract. So it's a fifth amendment with NB5. It's $83,000 and will go till June 30th of next year. Since we are not going to have a capital project at the same level the following year, we'll probably be able to tone that down for this. That's why I only went 1 year. I don't want to just build on top of something and say, well, you're going to get a flat rate anyway. And then the other thing too, we have because of our funding sources are now requiring extra level of detail in how we're charging things. So we can't just say our engineers. They want to know exactly what projects are working on it. However, we've had extra timekeeping requirements that we're being charged. We're requiring them to do to ensure for like OCTA.
Kind of like our attorneys.
I knew that.
Come on, what's one meeting without a good attorney, Jim?
So with that, we'd recommend approval. It's an $83,000. I recognize it's a big increase, but it's generated by us, not the firm itself. They were perfectly happy to go along, but the work just wouldn't have been done, and I don't think it would have been. The liability is too great for us, and I'm uncomfortable with the service level we do otherwise.
Good service to our residents.
Yep. So I'd recommend approval.
Comments, questions?
Well,
Go ahead.
I appreciate you clarifying that, Steve, because one of the things, when the prior council approved the new contract for MV5, that was one of my concerns, is how do I know that they're not going to come back and go, oh, by the way, we need to, raise it. So thank you for making sure it's clear that this is because we are going to them to say, hey, we're finding that we need to have more time. So I appreciate you stating that.
I'm happy to move the.
There's not a day that goes by that we don't have somebody come to the front counter and say, is the engineer's not here? Where's the engineer? Well, there won't be until Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, they got projects, they got time things they're trying to work on. So it is pretty consistent. We're lucky we have Justin here, who's here 5 days a week, because we have people coming and asking planning the same thing, but we have Justin there. So unfortunately, engineering requires us, certifications as an engineer. It's a little tougher.
I've heard enough. I'm happy to move the matter.
Second.
Second. Let's vote.
Passes by a 5-0 vote.
And here comes the fun part. This is the best part of the evening.
You can do this one.
Besides the distinguished citizen, our last item of business is the approval of the Third Amendment to the employment contract for our beloved city manager. Steve?
I didn't put beloved in the contract.
He's getting
I'll
pretty
take
good
this
over
one.
here.
You can stay here. Basically, it's the Third Amendment to the contract. The salary's the same, and the contract is extended for 1 more year to March 15th, 2025. That's the only change, and we recommend approval.
Okay. Comments, questions?
Yes, we're lucky to have them, and
Yep.
I'll move the item.
It's my honor to second it.
Okay. Let's vote.
Matter fails, 5-0.
We'll be taking the attorney contract next.
That was good.
Good. Zero delay.
Steve, before you get into your report, once more, Sharice, welcome to the meeting tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us. Alyssa and Lee, thank you very much for what you all do every day. We really do appreciate you, and thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And you running the meeting, Alyssa. So, Steve, you get your manager's report?
Yeah, I do. Couple things I wanted to mention. I know that we took some ribbing from the Rotary a few weeks ago about the dilapidated shape of our AED machine back there. So since that time in the hallway here, and staff have been advised of it, et cetera, and you've all seen it, we have an active brand-new AED that's available to anybody who might be using this facility. It's an easy-to-use, we picked up a very modern battery charge that lasts forever type of thing. And it will, it's a very basic verbal, it gives you instructions how to do it as you do it. So it's right in the hallway back here, so it never gets locked off. And anybody using this room has complete access to it, as do city staff and library staff as well. So just for the record, if anyone's using it, if they have any questions, it's right there. And we would encourage people to orient themselves and say, hey, where is it, just in case, because I think it could be very much a life-saving tool down the road.
Yeah, the Rotary sponsored CPR training, and we trained, I think, 71 people here in Villa Park. And there's also a Boy Scout that is volunteered to document all the AED locations around the county and make that available to all of us so that we can put it on our website and things like that. So you'll have documented locations of where you can find them in case there's a problem. Because right now, no one knows where any of them are.
You can't miss it. It's right in the hallway. It blinks. It blinks at you, so you know the power's on. A couple other things. We are in discussions. A lot of people ask me, where are we? The housing element. We are as close as we've been to, I can say, to answering all their questions. And we've gotten that verbal discussion again with HCD. So we believe we have to do a public review period of answering all the questions, which we'll do by the end of this week, early next week. By early May, we'll be having our clarifications in writing up to the HCD. They have indicated that they believe that we've answered their questions, but, what they say on the phone isn't necessarily what you're going to get in writing from them. So, we would hope they have 60 days to respond. And at that point, so we would expect an answer on our most recent version in midsummer, and I'll share that with you. But they have not turned down anything, so everything we're doing is moving forward in the direction of the council's previous votes, so there's nothing new. A lot of the clarification is, give us timeframes for this and whatever. So we've filled in some gaps for them on information they've requested, and we'll see what the written response is. And I am cautiously optimistic that we'll have some positive news, but that's sort of cautious optimism sometimes falls on deaf ears.
Orange was denied, wasn't it?
They received something similar verbally that said they had a positive, but they had another issue where they had a builder come forward and sue them regarding one of their developments, a builder's choice type of thing. We have not had any builder's choice, because I get that question too. We don't have any undeveloped land where builders have come forward. We don't have much undeveloped land that people can come forward, so it's not as the threat is not as onerous for us. But that's part of the issue. They had a lawsuit that the people who initiated the lawsuit contacted HCD before they issued the letter to the City of Orange saying it was approved. And that sort of changed the dynamics. They didn't feel very comfortable approving it in the midst of a lawsuit. So I think there's some other issues going on. Huntington Beach is in active war between HCD. Again, we're not there. I appreciate and praise the council for restraining themselves from sometimes saying what they might feel. We all feel a little bit of frustration, but I think HCD they've commented to us that we're working with them, and we're not, at this point, a target in their sights. And that's a good thing. So I think that we can continue to move forward, but I appreciate the support and the approach and the attitude the council has taken, because I know the urge is to speak up and just fire away. but you haven't, and you've restrained, and I think that it will serve us well in the long run. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this was brought forward, the construction has resumed on the high school, so you'll see there's a lot of demolition, and they've lost that east side parking lot again that they used to have. So with that, it sort of created, like, where are these people going to park? There is minimal, if any, parking now available in the regular parking lot during the day, especially when they're doing construction now on the track exit to Santiago. So what we've done on a temporary basis until school is out, you'll see all the signs with no parking during, on Santiago itself have been blacked out. And that's a temporary basis just to allow the students and people visiting the school to have a place to park. And it's really important. We'll reevaluate. In the summertime, it's not going to be as much of a demand because the students won't be there. And we'll reevaluate when they reopen this runway here and what the parking is. But in trying to work with the school, and I thank you, Councilman Jones, because she and the principal have come forward and raised an issue about, it's just becoming a problem. We just solved the problems on Nichols and Serrano, so we tried not to go in that direction. But people are parking on Santiago in the afternoon anyway for sports activities, et cetera. We thought it really made sense just to open that up for the time being. So that's just for the record. They're not parked illegally. The city has waived the parking restriction on a short-term basis. So just for the record, and if anyone wants to come in, we can clarify what. But you'll see that Mike has gone out there and creatively covered the signs in his own special way. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. And with that, I think that's all I have to share today.
Thank you. Thank you. Now it's time for council member meeting attendance reports, starting with mosquito and vector control.
And I also have a report from the DC, so I don't know when you want me to give that one as
Do
well.
that one at the council member information one.
Okay, so I was unable to attend the vector control. However, I asked for an update, and other than a whole lot of just administrative stuff, the big thing is, if you remember back in 2020, right before COVID shutdowns, the board was working with Cosmont Realty in looking for a new facility to be able to move, since they're outgrowing the one in Garden Grove, and then it kind of got stopped. And so I knew this was coming down the pipe, and I knew I would miss this at the meeting. I would have supported anyways, but they did end up approving a 1-year contract for the brokerage services with Cosmont to assist in trying to locate a building again. So that is back now in the forefront. And then a big thing, and I believe we're putting it in the feeder, is there's going to be truck-mounted service on this Thursday, April 27th, in Villa Park from 11:30 to 2 p.m. at the Villa Park Dam. And you'll see a truck-mounted bacterial larvicide that is going to be sprayed. It's not an aerosol, it's like granules. And this is for the Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus, which is for yellow fever, Zika, and chikungunya. And that is this Thursday, the 27th, 11:30 to 2. It's completely safe, especially for areas that are sensitive habitats, and is very effective at a larvicide.
Cool.
That's this Thursday.
That it?
Yeah.
Sanitation District, I attended an administrative committee board meeting on April the 12th. We got a tour of Plant 2. The last time when Jordan and I were together over there, they did a tour of Plant 1. This time it was Plant 2. So we discussed the upcoming strategic planning session. Next meeting is a full board meeting tomorrow. They will review the budget and also the strategic plan with us. I'll be able to share more information on that. Fire Authority?
Thank you. This month, we actually have our meeting coming up on Thursday. And immediately after that, on Friday, we have the Best and Bravest ceremony, which I'll be honored to attend and provide some remarks for all that are in attendance. And I would encourage you all to go if possible. As far as meetings for the Fire Authority, I attended the April 12th Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and the highlights from the meeting involve the appointment of the communication with auditors for fiscal year 2022-2023. Fire Authority is in great shape. we're very, very blessed. We've had a very conservative approach to all that we do. Obviously, there's still some long-term concerns about where the economy is going in the U.S., in the state of California, and even within Orange County, given some of the public policy challenges and economic challenges with inflation. Last thing was dealing with the fiscal year 21-2022 backfill overtime and calendar year 2022 total earnings compensation analysis. And we'll be delving into that more on Thursday's meeting, so I'm going to refrain from going too far into that. But good month overall. Fire Authority has been a smooth running machine, and I'm very honored to be there, and I thank you for that.
Cool. Thank you for what you're doing there.
Can I ask a quick question? What was that event that you would like us to attend? And what was the date on that?
Best and Bravest, that is this Friday. Hmm?
Thank you.
Let's see, Library Advisory Board, that's me. This past week, the Library Executive Committee board met to review the budget considerations for fiscal year 23-24. We're going to actually present the budget to the full board in May. This year's budget's around a little over $85 million. They are having some challenges, which I think I sent out a presentation, the budget presentation and so forth, and also listed some of the challenges that they're having in there for you all's review at some point in time. So we'll have another meeting in May to actually approve the budget. City schools?
Yes, thank you. So we met on Monday, April 17th at Villa Park High School in the new science building. The first item on the agenda was crossing guards. The city of Villa Park currently has one crossing guard on Taft, and currently there are no plans to add another crossing guard at this time. The city of Orange pays for the crossing guard on Santiago by Serrano Elementary. However, they informed us that they have 39 crossing guard positions available, but only 22 are filled. So there's a big hole there. And they lost a lot of their crossing guards due to COVID. Some of them elected not to come back, and several actually passed away due to COVID. So they are continuing to try and find qualified applicants, but having a hard time trying to do so. We also received a presentation on the Measure S Phase 2 projects. Originally, only 2 phases were planned for each of the 4 main high schools in OUSD. However, the first phase of Measure S came in at $10 million under budget. And the second phase now is, it looks like it's going to come in about $5 million under budget, which means we are going to get a Phase 3. So that's very exciting. After the meeting, the group was able to take a tour of the Villa Park High School well space and see what the district is doing to support the mental health of students. And then in general school news, open house at Villa Park High School is tomorrow night. So I would really like to encourage all the residents to come out, and if you haven't had a chance already, take a look at the new science building if you haven't had a chance to see it. And then finally, thank you to Steve and Mike for the parking accommodations on Santiago. The principal informed me he was actually driving around the parking lot on his golf cart trying to find parking for students that were arriving to school on time because they had an event with Chapman where there were several people on campus, and he said if there was even one other event on campus that brought other cars, students were not able to find parking. So this, with losing all of that over there by the football field and track, in addition to the staff parking over with the construction, it's just too few parking spaces. So it's not like the high school over-issued, parking. They issued for what we had at the time, and they were not anticipating these projects taking as many spaces as they have. So I really do appreciate your accommodation with that. Thank you. And that's my report.
Thank you.
Quick
Go ahead.
question. On the crossing guard situation, is there an age limit, do you know? Because I know a lot of seniors that...
Seniors are actually encouraged because it is an awkward job where you're just working a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the afternoon. And so usually seniors have the flexibility for that. So yes, they are very much encouraged.
So how would, how could I get information to pass on to some of the?
Orange Police Department
Okay.
is the one that has the openings right now.
So I would also say the sheriff runs their own training, and they have it. So if somebody was interested in doing it, say the unincorporated areas or things like that, the sheriff goes through a training process and works with the crossing guards because they require them to be a certain amount of training. and-
Anaheim PD too, yeah. They didn't indicate that they had as much of a shortage as Orange. So if there's someone who's interested, Orange definitely will probably snap them up right
Yeah.
away.
Any one of those three options will be.
Yes, yes.
Well, I have access to a whole group of individuals who then go and branch out and give the reports. So, I mean, I think it'd be a great conduit to be able to get the word out. So I'll look into that.
Fantastic,
You know,
thank you.
we have a similar challenge at the library. They've got 60 openings at the library, you know, for various and sundry people, you know, drivers to librarians, and they're having a really hard time staffing people.
This isn't the county system overall is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, shoot any information my way because, I mean, it's so helpful for the seniors, especially the ones that want something to do but don't want an 8 to 5 or don't need, you know, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you. Law enforcement, Leac?
Technically, no meeting. We did have a presentation coordinated with the LPR company called Flock. Was it last week, if I recall correctly? That was open for anybody to attend, to view the technology, discuss the costs, discuss location, and frankly talk about how it's now permeated all of Orange County. I mean, we are literally like a black hole that doesn't have that technology in place. I believe Orange is in the final phases. Anaheim certainly has it employed. Yorba Linda recently employed it. Los Alamitos, a number of cities. So it's just a continuing evolution of education and giving the public and or our electeds the opportunity and the Sheriff's Department to weigh in on the value and or concerns that folks may have with respect to it. No concerns heard. In fact, quite the opposite, overwhelming support. We did have Mr. Wayne Silzel there representing, I would venture to say, the Neighborhood Watch program and many of his neighbors and friends. And it was great. I appreciate you setting that up. Ashley took some very detailed notes on that and hopefully have a discussion about that in the future. That's it.
Villa Park Community Services Foundation?
The foundation had participated in Earth Day this past Saturday. It was a successful event. Got dozens of local citizens and also high school interact students, National Charity League, National League of Young Men, all participated, walking around and picking up trash. The foundation, well, the first team real estate, Kathy McCarthy, provided the free document shredding. They have shredded about 130 boxes. And OC Junk Loggers, actually, the owner is Villa Park resident, Joe Sandoval, participated. He filled up a truckload of lots of TV monitors, laptop, printers as a e-waste scrap. And our Republic Services also provided free compost. The mayor was there helping out and shoveling the compost into container for the residents. I was there also just because I was participating in the high school campus care. So I also was there to help out. And Mayor and I were just talking about how the smell stayed with us for a couple days. So outside of that, I will attend tomorrow's meeting, try to find out any other events coming up in May. Thank you.
Okay, housing legislative
No meeting?
meeting. Bridges,
No meeting.
senior citizen.
Senior Citizens Advisory, so the housing and transportation portion, we met on April 13th. And if you remember, we had Sarah Shervany, who came and gave the presentation here as a town hall for safety. And then I had contacted her and asked if she could tailor it more for our seniors and the different safety issues with them, not just like cyber security or scams, but she came and gave a very thorough and engaging presentation on elder abuse and scams. And one of the biggest things, and I can forward that to anybody who wants it, not just the financial abuse, but what everyone I don't think realizes is that TV and radio also is very much a conduit for scamming our adults. It's not just on the phone or via email or on the internet. They got these targeted and they say, call this number and we'll throw in 5 or 6. All you got to do is pay the shipping and this, and then they get information from you when they call. So that really surprised me because I was totally unaware that when you see it on the TV, you think that because it's a paid spot that it means it's legitimate, and that's not always the case. So, and then there's a Medi-Cal presentation because the Medi-Cal renewal is coming up, and so I forwarded that to Steve, that he can put the link on. It's a very comprehensive PowerPoint about Medi-Cal, Medicare, and the different dates and services and numbers. So if you're someone that's just starting to get into that, but the big thing is that anybody that's currently on Medi-Cal, you should be receiving a yellow envelope. So they're trying to make sure that people don't accidentally throw it away, because once that window closes of eligibility, then it's very difficult to all the red tape to get back and reinstated. So it's arriving in a yellow envelope. So don't throw the yellow envelope away was the main thing. That was it.
All right, now individual council member meetings, starting with Councilwoman Jones.
Thank you. I attended the ACCOC Housing Committee meeting last month, and there was a presentation by one of the nonprofit builders in our county who are working on building affordable housing that also provides support services for residents. So that was an interesting presentation. On April 12th, I attended the ribbon cutting at the new Anaheim Hills office for U.S. Representative Young Kim that was sponsored by the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce. That same week, Councilman Wu and I met with one of the aides from Philip Chen's office. Then on April 14th, I attended the groundwater replenishment system dedication hosted by OC San and OC Water District that we had the presentation on. And then I also participated last Thursday in a meet and greet sponsored by Chairman of the Orange County Board of Supervisors, Don Wagner, along with Councilman Wu and City of Orange Councilman Dennis Bilodeau and John Gillenhammer. It was a great evening with some really good questions, and thank you to our mayor for attending that as well. I was happy to be included for our Villa Park Women's League Newcomers Tree dedication last Sunday. And finally, yesterday, I was at Santiago Canyon College to present them with a certificate from the city of Villa Park celebrating their military-friendly Gold School recognition and their 10 years of service to our veterans through their Veterans Resource Center. So we have a challenge coin here, too, that we were given. And the military-friendly Gold School distinction is very prestigious. It means that they scored within 10% of the 10th ranking school in their category nationwide. So these schools are truly setting the example with their programs and initiatives, and the city of Villa Park is very happy to support them. So thank you. That's my report.
I just wanted to thank the Fire Authority folks for giving me the opportunity to tour Fire Station 41 at Fullerton Airport, discuss potential enhancements to both the aircraft as well as their facility the other day. And then also on the 14th, in a different and professional capacity, I attended the groundwater replenishment event, ensuring that our electeds were safe. And I'm proud to say, I'm happy to say, it went off without a hitch. So it was originally planned to have potentially the vice president, the governor, all of our U.S. senators. Thankfully, from a planning perspective, that did not happen. So, but we still had quite a turnout of electeds, and the event went off without a hitch. And yes, I too tasted the water, and it tastes great. So,
Did you get a ride on the helicopter?
Of course I did.
Oh, good. All right, cool. Councilman Wu?
Well, I'm not going to detail with a lot of events I have attended with Councilwoman Jones. I enjoy all the events such as the House Representative Young Kim's ribbon cutting ceremony, the water district. As we know earlier, I already drank the water that is already coming from our end to the other end. So, joking. But, and also, it's a huge thanks to Chairman Wagner to provide the town hall for the new council members. I enjoyed that event and also participate the SCC military-friendly school and women's lead tree dedication. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank our mayor to put out the quick video of a monthly rundown. Especially, I really appreciate last month specifically call out and emphasis to our residents, our city staff, and the council do not do any background check on any residents or even applicants who come forward to apply for variance. I think that message delivers strongly, and a lot of residents heard. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilwoman Mao?
So before I get into the report from DC, I just want to give a shout out to Villa Park girls varsity softball and Villa Park varsity boys baseball, who were both honored last night at Angels Stadium before the game. CIF Southern Section has academic awards that they give to the top team GPAs for every sport throughout CIF Southern Section, and Villa Park, both the softball and the baseball, were the two GPA leaders in softball and baseball. And so, I mean, everyone's recognized, whether it's whoever holds it for water polo or for wrestling or for basketball, and Villa Park had two. So they were honored last night at Angel Stadium right before the game. And I sent the pictures to Steve for both teams so that they can go in the feeder. And then tonight, the boys won their game and solidified taking the league title. So congratulations to them, and hopefully they do well for CIF. But
Keep it at home.
yeah, well, we have a game Thursday, and depending if we win the seeding, then hopefully we'll get a home game. But okay, so as you know, you guys approved the travel to the DC with ACCOC members and board, and I have to say that I was extremely impressed both with the organization and the access that I had to several of the members of Congress that I'll be able to explain, and felt that it was, versus the trip that I took in 2019, this trip was definitely, I'd say, a good use of the public funds, as you'll hear why shortly. So I'll go fast, but it was a huge trip and very busy. Monday was a day of travel other than some meet and greets that night. Starting off Tuesday, met with Congressman John Doherty, who's from Central California, who's a member of the House Committee on Natural Resources, and I was able to discuss with him the water issue plaguing California. Representative Doherty mentioned that he is trying to get Congress to agree to fund dredging to enlarge reservoirs so the next time we have record rain, we can keep it. Met with House Energy and Commerce Committee, where expressed concerns of the all-electric by 2035. In our discussion, we spoke about the emergency vehicles, disposal of batteries, and the infrastructure required to do so, along with bringing back manufacturing to U.S. Basically, we all agreed that it was unrealistic for California to be all electric by 2035, not to mention the lack of infrastructure to sustain all electric. Not that it's not going to happen, it's just, will it happen by 2035? And most of the people with the House Energy Committee agreed that 2035 is unrealistic. I, along with a few of the ACCOC board members, were able to have a special meeting with Speaker McCarthy. And here I was able to ask the progress on the fentanyl battle, along with letting him know that 18 to 26-year-olds are not the only demographic being affected by the drug. More and more seniors are succumbing from the fentanyl poisoning due to them acquiring their prescriptions across the border so they can save money because they are on a fixed income. And Speaker McCarthy let us know about some bills related to fentanyl, which I'll paraphrase. First one, there's about 19 bills that were advanced on March 24th. including the Halt All Lethal Trafficking Fentanyl Act, otherwise known as H.R. 467, the Block Report and Suspend Suspicious Shipments Act, H.R. 501, and the Securing the Border for Public Health Act of 2023, which is H.R. 801. I can go through those, or you guys can look them up, but it's all relating to fentanyl and trying to prevent it from coming across the border, which originally starts in China. And unfortunately, he did explain to us that it's really permeating our military as well. Met with Congressman King Calvert, who is advocating for pay increases for our service members to counteract the cost of living increase, and we discussed small business keeping control by taking the federal government out of it and allowing small businesses to do what they do best by removing some of the regulatory restrictions, very similar to us all thinking that local control is better and regulation and big government is not. On Wednesday, 4/19, we met with Frank Rusco, who's the Government Accountability Office, and received the following update regarding EV and the power grid. Scientists are developing advances in battery technologies to meet increasing energy storage needs for the electric power grid and electric vehicle use. Efforts are underway to replace components of widely used lithium-ion batteries with more cost-effective, sustainable, and safe materials. Advances in longer duration storage technologies such as flow batteries also have the potential to help integrate renewable energy sources for electricity generation and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Because if you remember back on the Natural Resources Committee, one of the big discussions is, even if we do go all electric, how are we going to store all the energy
Grid's gonna support it.
and the grid? And then also, because it's so expensive to go underground, you're going to have to convince people to have these wires overhead, which is another battle. So the standard material used for anode of lithium-ion batteries is graphite, the same flaky carbon material used in pencils. However, silicon is a cheap and more readily available material that is safer and can potentially store 10 times as much lithium by weight. So since most batteries have limited lifespans and currently there is limited technology or infrastructure to address the recycling or disposal and the magnitude of power lines that would be required to accommodate and service an all-electric community, it is not realistic at this time, which is, again, in sync with what the housing or the committee said. EV may be the future, but will definitely take a while, not to mention the cost. For example, to convert an apartment complex that utilizes gas to an all-electric apartment complex would be outrageously expensive. The cost would most likely get transferred to the occupants by the landlord, thus raising the rent, which may force some residents into homelessness. So although it might sound like a good idea to make it all electric, I don't think, and they don't think, that they have thought this all the way through, because the last thing you want to do when we have such inflation is increasing our rent, and then therefore you end up having people that end up being forced into homelessness. We were invited into the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, where we heard from the chief economist, Curtis Dubé, who basically, in a nutshell, said that interest rates were going to increase one more time. So be prepared. Next, we heard from Vice President and Chief of Staff, Government Affairs, Ron Eidshag, on the issue of energy and infrastructure. And to build sustainable infrastructure more quickly, it is suggested to reduce the level of review for climate projects on non-sensitive land while keeping polluting projects heavily scrutinized. And they talked a lot about the permitting. So permitting timelines have doubled since the 70s, and nearly half of all clean energy projects are delayed in the permitting process compared to just 15% for fossil fuels. Many of the clean energy projects are supported in the IRA, whether it's offshore, wind, geothermal, or interstate transmission lines, and it won't come online until after 2030. So we likely must deploy solar and wind 5 to 6 times our historical pace to reach 80% clean power by 2030. So again, it's a lofty goal, but you've got several different departments that are saying that it's just not going to happen. And then later that day, I met with Congresswoman Young Kim to discuss our vets and their access to local health care and mental health services here locally in Orange County. Veteran suicide is rarely spoken about, but veterans comprise nearly a quarter of suicide deaths in the U.S., and that was back in 2022. It's increased since then. Angel Force is a nonprofit veteran suicide advocacy group that I am involved with, and I was thrilled that the Congresswoman is committed to helping bring awareness to suicide. So in conclusion, overall, I feel the trip was a good use of the public funds. as I had one-on-one access to several of the congressional representatives from California, where I was able to express concerns, hear status reports, and have discussions on issues that we are all facing and that impact all of us here locally in Orange County. And I really appreciate you guys agreeing to allow me to attend.
Money well spent. Thank you.
There you go.
And if you would, share that with us so we can all read up on all the different.
Oh,
things,
yeah,
the different
absolutely.
initiatives.
I will, yep, I will forward this to Steve and have him, yep, absolutely.
Thank you. As far as me is concerned, I attended a grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony at the new Sunrise Senior Living Facility in Orange. That was quite an event. I attended a Friends of Villa Park Library board meeting. We are planning an event to showcase an author, David Lopez. I don't know if you all remember him on one of the news channels. He's written a book, and he'll be showcasing that at this event. I'll give you the dates and times when it's set. Yep, I think the rest of it, I was with most of you all, so I'll forego that. Now we will adjourn until the next regular city council meeting on May 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Just want to remind you, we will also have a public budget workshop on Monday, May 8th at 5 p.m. Thanks for coming, and looks like everybody vamoosed, so we're adjourned.